Welcome back to another episode of the Mike Roach podcast. And you know what? I'm tired of being the humble Mike Roach here. Okay. It's time for me. I said it's time for me to bring out the big dogs. Okay. So before us all,
By the way, you already had Alvin Boogie Williams, so let's
hey,
start
listen.
there.
Hey, you're a part of this, Matt. Don't try to get out of this. You're a part of this. The man, the myth, the legend, the voice of the Raptors, the one and only Matt Devlin.
Thank you
Matt,
very much.
you're the man.
Good to
Thank you
see
for
you.
doing this.
Always great to see you. You know that.
So, Matt, let's start here. I got to start off with something very important, okay? Notorious BI3. This
Right.
might be some of your best work here, Matt Devlin. This is, I mean, how? How did you come up with something so
Well, you
fantastic?
know what? I think, you know, I can't take all the credit on that. I think that thing was floating around a little bit. Um, and, you know, just implement it. Just go with it. Pick your spots. And there are moments that he provides that certainly that fits into and calls for. Uh, so why not go with it? And he's provided unbelievable moments, as you know, including the game winner against Indiana. Nearly had another game winner Saturday night in Chicago. Uh, Great addition. Um, but hey, notorious B.I.
Oh, yeah. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, Matt. So the Raptors have played over 20 games now. Okay. When you think of this team, your thoughts, how would you sum them up as of right now?
It's evolving, growing. I think we have seen the best version of them game six on up until RJ Barrett was injured. I think that the last four games signify how important RJ is
Mm.
to this team, certainly from an offensive standpoint. When you look at the numbers, offensive rating, what they're shooting from the field, all those sort of things. Um, I think the lack of having RJ is one of the reasons why they're 2-2 over their last four. And the
Mhm.
last three games have been extremely well, two of them have been tight. Raptors did cut it to three at the 7:02 mark of the third quarter on Sunday night, 70-67. However, not having him affects the Raptors collectively and then even individually because he's such a great cutter. So when BI gets doubled, there's opportunities for him cutting to the bucket. We know, he can shoot the three. Their 3-point percentage over the last four games has not been
Mhm.
where it has been earlier. And then managing life without Jakob. They're 3-3 without him. We know that rebounding, and we're talking before the Portland game here, and Portland's an excellent offensive, second best offensive rebounding team in the NBA with respect to their rating. So that's significant. But I'll say this: in addition to what I just said, Mike, Sandro Mamukelashvili, Mamu said knock you out, has been outstanding.
Oh yeah.
That was a great pickup by Bobby Webster. Um, and when you look at what Scotty is doing, he should be. I think he was just named the Eastern Conference Defensive Player of the Month, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that email momentarily ago. When you look at that, then you also take a look at Quick turning the corner with his three ball, what Shed provides, what Yak provides, RJ, all of that I think is in place for a team that I felt was going to be a postseason team. Now, the growth and the evolution needs to come from different roles that the bench players have. And, I've mentioned this on the broadcast, the last couple of seasons, it's been free minutes. And that's understandable based upon where the Raptors were at that time and what they wanted to accomplish with respect to development, higher draft picks, those sort of things. So now, Jacoby and Grady and Ochai are all trying to figure out how to be most impactful in limited minutes. And that takes time because that is a massive shift. And you go back to last season, as we know, look at Jonathan Mobo. He was getting regular minutes. Now his minutes are in the G League. So this team is at a different point. And I go back to, lengthy answer here to your question, but, it's growing and it's still evolving.
And you mentioned some of the bench pieces, right? And you mentioned Emmanuel quickly as well. Now we have seen Darko use the combination of Jamal Shed and Emmanuel quickly. That's averaging a career best 6.3 assists right now. Why do you think Darko, or how is that those 2 point guards together in the lineup been effective for us?
Well, it's been effective up until the last 4 games. Last 4 games, they're -8 together. Again, I think a lot of that is just when you have two players out, Jakob and RJ, more specifically over the 4 games, RJ, you're going deeper a little bit into the bench, trying out different combinations. But through the first 17 games, they were +6 together with quickly shooting 50% from three. It gets Quick off the ball. And it allows Quick to really just focus in on, I'm shooting the three. And I think that that's why it's been so effective from an offensive standpoint. But defensively, as we know, Jamal Shed is a tremendous defender. And so that also frees up Quick as well. So those two combinations, I think, is why it has worked and will continue to work.
Do you have any concerns in regards to rebounding, especially when Jakob Poeltl is out of the lineup? At some point, do you think Bobby Webster is going to have to go out there and get a backup center?
Well, I think that you look at it, and right now they do have a roster spot open, right? When you look at rebounding, it's kind of twofold. Yes, there's been some issues with that, but also schematically, the Raptors are doing a really good job in transition D. They're not selling out and sending everybody to the glass, the offensive glass. So I think that plays, a part to it. And then the mentality of, okay, we collectively have to rebound. And over the last 4 games, Scotty Barnes has been averaging 9.8 rebounds, right? So he's kind of taking, control of some of that. But that rebounding is a mindset, but then also from a schematic standpoint too, of how many people you're sending to the glass. Now, New York, they're big, right? I mean, it's why Mitchell Robinson, is so important and why they've been so patient with him with all the injuries that he's had throughout his career, because he is just a load to deal with on the inside. And then, obviously you have somebody like, Josh Hart, who just wants to go get it, right? And so, I think it's been 5 or 6 consecutive games he's had 10 or more rebounds. So, whether or not they feel as though at this iteration of the team that, hey, we need to go find, somebody to go get that, meaning go get, those rebounds, we'll see. Because I think, too, Colin Murray-Boyles has shown that he can do it. Yes, he is undersized, but he's been slowed a little bit due to injuries, a couple of different injuries that fortunately haven't kept him out of the lineup for any lengthy period of time. So I think that's why I kind of went back and said, hey, there's growing and then there's also evolving. And we're 21 games in, and, I was talking to some of the coaches about, okay, here are, as we all know, we have these sample sizes of numbers, right? And we look at them and we say, okay, does this mean this? Does that mean that? What does this mean? What does that mean? And, in their mind at this stage, to them, we're just talking about 21 games, right?
Hmm.
And they want to still see larger sample sizes to really get a collective feel as to where they are.
Now, you mentioned the word evolving. And as I think about Scotty Barnes, we've seen him score the basketball, we've seen him shoot the three and facilitate, rebound, defend. What are you noticing about his game? And has he added anything to his game this season that you like?
Well, he's added the three from a consistent standpoint. You go back to Sunday in New York, he had three straight threes, and the Raptors were, making a move, and they cut it to what, 15, timeout by Mike Brown. He's a basketball player.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me what is just so impressive about him. And what I mean by that is that he can do pretty much it all, right? He's gotten to the line. He's 23 for his last 24 for the line. That number grows significantly since going 1 of 4 in Cleveland, October 31st. You look at, I think he's missed 3 or 4 free throws since then. We always know he's a willing sharer, right? He shares the basketball, plays with force. But the number one thing I think, and this just comes in time, comes with age, is consistency. And I remember Greg Popovich years ago, talking about Tim Duncan and said, his greatness is in his consistency. And to me, night in and night out, you're going to have off nights, but, are you providing that consistent level? And there are nights your shot doesn't go. What else are you doing? And, I remember talking to Kevin McHale, Hall of Famer with the Celtics, saying, he said there are nights that Larry Bird, he was off. Let's say he wasn't hitting a shot, but he finished the game with the double double, right?
Mm-hmm.
He finished the game with the double double, meaning 10 plus rebounds and 10 or more assists,
Right.
right? So he's finding those things. And that to me is why he's in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. It's why he's in the conversation. Granted, it's early, all D, all those sort of accolades. He is going to be an all star. Um, so, it's just building. Now, one other thing is we were talking earlier just about the team. The Raptors, up until 17 games, were one of the healthiest teams in the NBA. And we know, based upon the last 2 years, what that's all about, right? And how important health is. And when you're healthy, that's when you're going to be successful, right? You look at Cleveland, what they're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with. Knicks had scuffled a little bit. Now they've kind of, without having OG, have kind of settled in, right? And you look around the league and the teams that, like Portland, that have a significant number of players out. Now all of a sudden, you're trying to find ways, and sometimes that takes a little bit of time in order to accomplish that.
Now, the Raptors, to me, at times look really good with their passing, right? They've become a better passing team to me. Uh, is that strictly to Darko's system? What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%. And within that, I think that, because if you look at the assist numbers from the first 2 years under Darko, Mike, as you know, they've been tops in the NBA, and that's
Mhm.
without shooting a great field goal percentage. But to Darko and the coach's credit, we've seen again this evolution over the course of the season, which is extremely difficult to do. But, they're utilizing, BI in the half court. It's why their half court offense has been much improved, top 10 in the league. It's because, okay, hey, if they're doubling them, this is what we're doing. He's a willing passer, and he's finding players open around him. They're running sets for him in the half court, staggers and pin downs, trying to get him freed up, and just doing a lot of really good stuff, you know, in the half court. So, but I think that's all a part of what Darko has built here since, you know, joining the Raps.
So, last question here, Matty D. The Raptors 5-game homestand. What do you believe are going to be some of the keys to success there?
Well, you know, number one, it's a team that's been on the road for, you know, quite some time. In fact, up until, you know, last week, early part of last week, they had played the second most number of road games, only trailing Golden State. And that hasn't been talked about all that much. Atlanta now has played more than the Raptors in the Eastern Conference. So for Toronto to get back home, they've won 7 in a row here. It's their longest home winning streak dating back to January through February of 2020. You have to take advantage of home. You look at BI's numbers at home in comparison to the road right now, early, you know, small sample size, 9 games, you know, but he's been playing well. This isn't an easy stretch. It's 7 games in 11 days. Tonight begins, you know, the first of 3 and 4, 5 over 8. You're seeing the first 2 Western Conference teams. You're 1 and 3 against the West, but you have to take care of the basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be more efficient in fast breaks as far as, you know, finishing. Over the last 4 games, they're shooting just 50% on the break without RJ. So, you know, that's important. You're going to have to get to the glass for sure. Now, the Lakers are playing great basketball. As we know, I know they just are coming off of a loss, but, you know, you have Doncic and Austin Reeves, and DeAndre Ayton's, you know, provided a lift for them. And then you get Charlotte on the second night of a back-to-back, and you owe them one, right? You owe them one because the first lead that they took on Saturday night was in overtime. And so Raptors led by 17 and unfortunately just struggled in that fourth quarter, went 5 minutes, 17 seconds without a field goal made in that fourth quarter. So, you know, those are important. Then all of a sudden, you know, here's Boston and our good friend Chris Boucher coming to town. And, you know, they're all of a sudden now, you know, turning the corner, playing better basketball. So it's not an easy road. You have to take care of business against Portland, right? And when you don't have an RJ, you have to find a way. Talked about it earlier, bench, you're going to need a big lift off of the bench. Now, Donovan Clingan's been out for Portland. So, you know, Thiago Splitter has gone small the last couple of games. Does that help the Raptors? You know, Lakers, you know, it's going to be tough. I mean, they're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, JJ Redick has done an outstanding job there. Charlotte, you owe. Boston, you're going to see. And then it's the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup with the New York Knicks. Knicks have won 9 in a row against Toronto. So there's no easy road, but I think we can all agree as Raptor fans that being 14 and 7 at this stage has really set them up, right, to be successful. And now just try to figure out and manage things. And it's hard with this number of games when you look at Brandon Ingram, and not to make excuses, this is just the reality. You know, he's playing significant number of minutes, right? His minutes are up without RJ. You have to remember he played all of 18 games last season. You know, he just looked tired on Sunday, which is completely understandable given the number of games, second night of a back-to-back, and, you know, coming off of an injury. And so, you know, tonight's important because you had Monday off. You know, tomorrow, you know, rehab, you know, or, you know, getting your treatments, and then boom, here you go, back to back. So it'll be interesting also to see what they decide to do with Jakob in that back to back. But the games are coming right now, fast and furious, for the Raptors. So each individual game, Mike, will take something a little bit different, right? And that's going to be, but getting to the glass, because we know what happens Saturday and Sunday. Getting to the glass is certainly going to be important, and shooting the three ball as well.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Voice of the Toronto Raptors, Matt Devlin. Thank you for doing this, Matt. I really appreciate it, man.
You got it. Anytime, Mike. It was great seeing you last week. It had been too long.
No,
Always enjoy seeing you, and keep on keeping on. All right.
appreciate it. Thank you,
All
folks.
right. Great to
Matt
see you, Mike.
Devlin. Thank you.